Have you ever noticed how some people just get a new idea like instantly, while for others it takes a bit more work? Well, it turns out Tibetan meditation masters were asking that same exact question over 1,000 years ago. And you're going to want to stick around because their answers line up with modern learning science in some ways that are just absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, picture this. You're in a room. A teacher says a single sentence. The person to your left, they have this sudden, life-changing realization. The person to your right looks totally lost. And you, well, you kind of get it, but you know you're going to have to chew on it for a while. This isn't just a random thought experiment. It's the core observation that led to a really powerful way of understanding how we all learn.
So this framework, it comes from these ancient traditions of Tibetan Buddhism. Masters in these lineages, they saw that students don't just differ in how smart they are, but in their readiness to learn. So what did they do? They developed a kind of map to navigate these different states of mind.
They broke it down into 3 types: best, middling, and lesser capacity. Now, before you get worried, these aren't judgments about you as a person. Not at all. They're just descriptions of how much inner fog, mental noise, a person is dealing with at that moment. And here's the most crucial part. This isn't a fixed identity. It's a temporary state that can absolutely change.
So first up, let's talk about the best capacity student. This is that person who seems to have that magical, just instantaneous grasp of a concept.
For this learner, the teaching just lands on perfectly fertile ground. It's not just an intellectual, "Oh, I get it." The understanding is deep, it's experiential, and it's transformative, all in a single moment. The teacher points at the moon, and this student sees the moon immediately. No confusion.
And what's wild is how much this lines up with modern science. Psychologists call this insight learning, that classic aha moment we've all had. It's also known as transformative learning, where one new idea can shift your entire worldview. Or, if you want to get technical, cognitive science calls it meaningful reception, where a new idea just clicks perfectly into a mental framework you've already built. See, this student isn't necessarily smarter, they've just already done the prep work.
Next up, we have the middling student. I kind of like to call this one the leaping learner. Why? Because their progress isn't a straight line. Nope. It's more like a series of plateaus and then, bam, a sudden leap forward.
So, this student has these really powerful experiences during their practice, but they have to keep working to make them stick. The tradition has this great word for these temporary states, nyam. These are these amazing moments of bliss or incredible clarity. And a good teacher's job here is so important. They help the students see these moments for what they are, signposts on the journey, not the final destination. You can't get attached to them.
And again, modern science gives us a perfect map for this. This journey perfectly mirrors the experiential learning cycle. You have an experience, you reflect on it, you form a new idea, and you test it out. It's also a perfect description of something called the zone of proximal development, that sweet spot where a student can succeed with just the right amount of guidance. The teacher's whole job is to adapt the challenge to help you make that next leap.
And finally, that brings us to the lesser capacity student, or as I call them, the gradual learner. This is the student who's working through a lot of that inner fog. The super advanced direct instructions, they just don't land yet because there's just too much noise in the system.
For this learner, the path has to be structured. It has to be sequential. It's built on these preliminary practices that are designed to clear the ground, step by step. And what's the fuel for this long journey? Well, it's all about connection. The relationship with a trusted teacher becomes the engine that really drives their progress forward.
This maps directly onto some huge ideas in modern education. The first is scaffolding. Think of them like training wheels. They're temporary supports that you take away as the student gets more skilled. The second is something called self-determination theory. It basically says we're all motivated by 3 things. For this student, the journey starts with relatedness, that strong connection to their guide. That relationship helps them build competence bit by bit until they finally develop their own autonomy. It's a beautiful process.
So, okay, we have these 3 types of learners, and each one needs a different way of teaching. But here is the most profound insight of this entire system. This is the one that ties it all together.
So the crucial question is this: are you stuck in one of these boxes for life? If you're a gradual learner right now, does that mean you're always a gradual learner?
And the answer, from both the ancient masters and modern science, is a resounding no. Absolutely not. These are not life sentences, they are temporary states. A gradual learner who puts in the work can absolutely start to function just like an instantaneous learner.
Modern cognitive science even has a name for this, the expertise reversal effect. So what is that? It means that the very things that help a beginner, like detailed step-by-step instructions, they actually get in the way of an expert. As your own internal mental map gets richer and more detailed, you need less handholding and more space to make those intuitive leaps. The teaching has to change as the student changes.
And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. The structured, gradual path isn't just a slower way to get to the same place. No way. When it's done right, it actively creates the very conditions. It clears away that inner fog that makes sudden, instantaneous understanding possible. The path itself literally transforms the learner.
It is just incredible, isn't it? To see a model of learning developed through pure observation centuries ago that took Western science all this time and research to articulate. It really makes you wonder, what else might they have figured out about the human mind that we're still trying to discover?
I should also mention that the amazing synthesis presented here is based on the life's work of the late clinical psychologist and meditation master, Daniel P. Brown. He was someone who dedicated his life to bridging these two incredible worlds.